Okay, this is from Xenu.net. The Scientology Emotional Tone Scale. This is the tone scale in full. Dated 25 September 1971. Reference HCOB. The numbers preceding the emotional tone indicate the arbitrary level of the tone. Mind you, FBI could never get a hold of this for some strange reason. Because in here, we have child abuse written right into it. The numbers preceding the emotional tone indicate the arbitrary level of the tone. This is thought stopping. This is thought control. This is stomping out all emotional reactions, like telling children when they cry or when they get upset that they have bank. Imagine, I'm trying to think of the word. Imagine the logic of thinking that when a child cries or is upset about something, that they should not be allowed to do that. And because LRH said, allegedly. And also, I want people to keep in mind the degenerate, drug-addicted, bigamist, convicted felon who stated that it was, in so many words, permissible for a grown man to kiss a 7-year-old girl passionately on the lips. Complete failed military. And we never really saw all his records. There's really not that much proof that he truthfully really was in the military. I haven't seen it, and I'm an honorable U.S. Army veteran of almost 6 years. In the regular Army, thank you very much. LRH I'm talking about, by the way. I want you guys to keep that degenerate in mind when I'm reading these tones. And me personally, it reminds me a lot of Abraham Hicks. I'm trying to remember what they call it. Something like emotional guidance system. I mean, it's different because Abraham Hicks, they are all about the law of attraction. 40, serenity of beingness. Can you guys ever imagine that sloppy, black-toothed LRH ever being serene? Especially when he was having his executives push peanuts around the ship deck yard, making their nose bloody of being serene. It's a narcissist. Allowing children to get locked up in the engine rooms. Allowing the children to get locked up in the engine rooms. Or better yet, throwing the children off the ships. Isn't that wonderful? And what about all of the RAPEs of the children on the Apollo, also known as the Royal Scotsman? Always do a side-eye when you hear these people talking about that was the boat or the ship they were on. Do a side-eye. So he drops, so in between 30 and 40, there's nothing, I guess. Ravings of a lunatic, allegedly. 3.0 postulates. Okay, I'm going to have to look this up. Hold on. I couldn't remember exactly what postulate means. So this is just the basic Google definition. It's a verb. Postulate. Suggest or assume the existence, fact, or truth of something as a basis for reasoning, discussion, or belief. Definitions from Oxford Languages. For anyone that didn't know, L. Ron Hubbard was having serious mental health challenges, allegedly from whatever, he tried to say that it was from service or something like that, but he was denied help at the VA, I believe, and denied help from various psychiatrists or whatever, which, if that is really what happened, I don't think that was, they should have helped him, but now we're all supposed to just try to figure this insanity out. 22 games. So, I mean, maybe like when somebody's out having fun and playing games and just being jovial and, like, I think that's why we see a lot of Scientologists, that are working 18 hours, 15 to 20 pounds underweight. Some of them have that curvature in their back. And they're just walking around like, hello, hello. Because they're forced to try to stay high on the tone scale. Even though they're being labored and trafficked, in my opinion. 20, action. Oh, that would go right along with production now, wouldn't it? Now look at pictures of L. Ron Hubbard. Did he look like a man of action? I mean, he liked having various slaves do his work for him. I would really like to know the real true story of his upbringing. The real story. Yeah, I said it. 8.0, exhilaration. There you go, too, with the exhilaration. A lot of times, like, do you guys remember when all this started, when William Good started this movement, and everybody started, like, I'm not going to say names because I don't want to do that, but someone had started a, Save Sebastian movement. It was a brilliant, I can say her name. I think Jessica Palmadessa started that. And then, we have to admit, Sebastian was a very handsome guy. I don't know his character. I mean, for all I know, he might be one of these perpetrators. I don't know him that well. But I think it was, because you guys, if you remember, he didn't talk very much, because, they're bound in so many ways. But I do remember either him, Sebastian, or someone else were like, I've never been more free. It was crazy. It was crazy. But see, that's what mind control does to people. 6.0, aesthetic. Imagine someone like L. Ron Hubbard talking about aesthetic. I think that my opinion of what he means, well, I can't get into his psycho brain, but aesthetic, everything has a nice appearance. Like, look at all their buildings, these historical buildings that they like to purchase. I believe there's some type of loophole they're doing with the historical buildings. But they're very aesthetically pleasing. Like if you, and I mean, how many deaths have happened at the Fort Harrison Hotel? But look at how aesthetically pleasing it is. Beautiful palm trees. The gardening looks perfect. I wouldn't say so much as the Blue Building, but it's all about the appearance, which is also extremely narcissistic. It's my opinion that L. Ron Hubbard was not the only one writing this stuff. And if you know, you know. .0 enthusiasm. You know, enthusiasm to work your ass off for 18 to 20 hours and not get any sleep and have your stats up. Making the organization money because you're saving the planet. When there's no evidence of that. That's mind F that they're doing to everyone. And it's all the insularness. I believe the insular has something to do with black magical spells. It reminds me of like binding. And not all binding is bad, but I think the binding, this is very diabolical. If you watch that movie, The Village, watch the movie The Village, and you'll understand what I'm talking about. I would say anyone that's questioning a high control group or a cult or whatever you want to call it, abusive relationship, watch The Village. When I was younger, I didn't quite get it, but I do now. Okay, 3.5 cheerfulness. .3, there's that important number again. I don't know what string interest means. That's going to be, someone would have to break that down for me. 3.0, conservatism. Huh, all that conservatism, that must be why they're R-ing the children and the women, huh? And I don't mean every Scientologist male is doing that. I don't mean that. There's a lot of it going on, though. They like to take the minor girls across the state lines to Las Vegas and marry them off. Then you can't call it, that's also a cover-up for the RAPE word, as well as the TRAF word. You guys know what I mean. 2.9, mild interest. So, you know, if you're not really happy about being a slave or indentured servant, or you're a child, you're 5 years old, and you don't really feel like cleaning the entire bathroom with a toothbrush, that would mean you have mild interest. And of course, whomever really wrote all this stuff, isn't it interesting? They never use the word children, and they never use the word gay. Must be a coincidence, huh? Must be a coincidence. And isn't it interesting that L. Ron Hubbard was in the OTO, if you know, you know, and very much a fan of Aleister Crowley. I don't know everything about Aleister Crowley. I just know a little bit. And I do often wonder if some of the things said about Crowley were twisted. I don't know. I'm starting to think he really was as dark as they say. But in true fashion with magic and evildoers, they love to invert and twist things around. They like to utilize the Hermetic principles and invert it all. So, where am I here? 2.8, contented. As you see, this is how a lot of this is how the policies are controlling the people. Can't ask questions. If you have a family member that asks a question or is not happy about some of the things that they know about Scientology. Now they're the enemy. And so why I brought that up is, you see, 2.6 is disinterested. So if you're, I remember, who was I listening to the other day? I forget. Former Scientologist, I believe is second gen or third gen, was saying how there was some project they had to work on. It was at the Blue Building, somewhere around there. And they literally had to work on it like 3 or 4 days straight. Oh, I wish I could remember which one this was. And they would maybe get to lay down for like 3 hours a night to sleep. And one person wound up, I wish I knew the name of this person. One guy cut his finger off. This is also the able become more able. Why don't we just say the slaves become more slaves, right? And then another person put a gash in their leg really bad. Maybe you guys saw that video. I can't remember who was. It was someone that we hadn't seen a lot. It was a new person coming out, which is great. The truth be's like that. So what I was getting at is, so 2.6 is disinterested. So if you're disinterested in working for 3 days straight with hardly any sleep, maybe you cut your finger off, or because you're so exhausted, or you put a gash in your leg because you are so exhausted. If you have the audacity to be disinterested, you guys, you're labeled a 2.6 on the tone scale. Allegedly stated from L. Ron Hubbard, a known drug addict, stolen valor, falsifying military records. This is what I believe. This is my opinion. Having the nerve to tell someone who's working for 3 days straight and might be a child that you don't dare be disinterested in being a slave. I really hope a lot of you guys go watch the Brave New World movie or read the book. That'd be better yet. I read it years ago. $2.5, boredom. You see why people would be pushed to not want to be a slave, or to pushed to not question slavery? 2.5, boredom. Produce. Get your stats up. We know you're 5 years old, but you're an adult you're an adult in a small body. Produce. Meanwhile, prestigious executives, troll, are giving thumb over the pulse handshakes to senators and various politicians, while the children get ardent and are slaving away over here. 2.4, monotony. Imagine a bigamist saying this. It's all on the records. Imagine a bigamist saying this. Oh, and I wanted to bring up, it's on record somewhere. And I don't know that much about Jack Parsons, but Jack Parsons was an occultist. I believe Jack Parsons was in the OTO as well. And Hubbard screwed him too. I think he stole his girlfriend and then married his girlfriend later. But I don't know if Parsons was involved in this, but I do remember hearing stories about L. Ron Hubbard, because they did like a lot of this sex magic stuff the O to the R to the G to the Y's. And it didn't matter if they were men and women. So why I bring that up, I don't want to get crass here, but isn't it funny how he was trying to make the G-A-Y low on the tone scale, but yet he was either, I have no proof that he participated in it, but he was present when it was going on, if you guys know what I mean. It's what they do in the dark cult. 2.0, antagonism. I'm going to, just for the fun of it, I'm going to look it up. Hold on. I know what antagonism is, but I want to see the definition. Okay, I went to Merriam-Webster Dictionary, which you know they've infiltrated and completely torn apart our language. But here we go. Antagonism, which is a noun. 1A, opposition of a conflicting force. See, to me that reminds me of shut up and don't ask questions. Obey, slave. That's what it reminds me of. Tendency or principle. The antagonism of democracy to dictatorship. What an interesting example that would be. B. Oh, and you know what that reminds me of? The antagonism of democracy to dictatorship. It reminds me of the fun little term they created, conspiracy theorist. And did anybody ever figure out what the conspiracy theorists and whom they were conspiring against? Because inquiring minds really MF want to know. B as in Bravo. Actively expressed opposition or hostility. Huh. Right, written into the tone scale. Do you guys really think that L. Ron Hubbard was that smart about mind control? Come on. He couldn't even make it in the military, allegedly. And he was in intelligence. Must be a coincidence. Allegedly a guy that all of his shipmates, his Navy seamen and fellow officers couldn't stand his guts. But he was somehow so successful. Weird. Allegedly, L. Ron Hubbard's father was a writer. B. Actively expressed opposition or hostility. I believe this has to do with the whole black magic. Like, if you go and look into the things that they do, they love to divide. Hold on. Okay, so antagonism is a 2.0 on the tone scale. FBI can't get a hold of this. Department of Justice can't get a hold of this. You know, all the agencies through all the 70 years were never able to get a hold of any of this documentation. Crazy. Love this one, you guys. 1.9, hostility. Where have we seen that before? Remember when the 5 threat levels came into our existence that we never had before? And I think you guys have to read between the lines. And I think the highest TER, you guys have to look into that, TER level of threat was a red, and then the second highest level was orange. What a coincidence that must be. There's a connection, you guys. What I'm trying to say is when all that was going on, hostility was not allowed. Just like hostility was not allowed the last 5 years. 1.8, pain. Yeah, like when children get hurt, not allowed to. You can't have pain. Imagine this drug addict guy. It's my opinion he was a drug addict. Telling people and children that if they have pain, they're 1.8 on the tone scale. 1.4, hate. Oops, wait, did I missed something here. Oh yeah. So 1.5, anger. Now, if you guys know anything about narcissism, narcissists can get as angry as they want. I mean, how many stories have we heard about Miscavige? I don't think Miscavige is the only one. I think a lot of how these bullies act, they're all just getting angry, beating people up, beating children up like Wally Hanks. But when you're incorporating this into a so-called tone scale, you're telling adults and children they're not allowed to be angry about anything. That's why we're seeing all these robotic looks. Not to mention all the sleep deprivation, which is MK Ultra 101 right there. Keep losing my place here. 1.4, hate. The reason I'm laughing, the audacity. I mean, allegedly LRH wrote all this stuff. Could you say more hatred of women? Could you say more hatred toward women? You can't even call them ma'am. Or madame, or what was the other one? Miss, Mrs. Hate of children? Children are not allowed to be children? That's hate. Not to even start on a person whom we might call gay or bisexual. I mean, hello. .3, resentment. Can you imagine all the things that these Scientologists, I'm talking about the decent folks, because we know there's a lot of devils in there and they need to just burn in hell. But the decent folks in Scientology that are acting under duress and not allowed to be their real self, or some of them don't even know their real self because they were put almost similar to, well, it's not a baby farm, but like a factory for children. They probably have no idea who they really are at their core. So what I was going to say was, imagine that they are told not to have resentment. 1.3. If you resent, you're 1.3. If you hate, you're 1.4. You think all the things that they're being put through, they're not going to have a little anger, hate, resentment? 1.2, no sympathy. Imagine that cow saying that. Imagine that cow saying that. 1.15, unexpressed resentment. Yeah, there's none of that in Scientology, is there? You know, when you're telling people they can't, like children, they can't be banked, they can't be interbulated. Give them an interbulation order. All these federal agencies just never were able to put it all together. Nobody was ever able to put together that these policies have criminal activities written right into them. Crazy. Where am I here? Oh, here we go again. 1.1 covert hostility. Kind of like, I want to say it so bad, but kind of like no JAB, no job. Kind of like that. 1.02 anxiety. Everything in Scientology, to me, is anxiety. I know some people find some good teachings when they're first in it, but 1.0 fear. The reason I'm laughing, said the most paranoid individual on the planet. I mean, he had a little reason to be paranoid, but in 70 years, nobody could catch him. But in like 5 minutes, all these federal agencies were able to get like a prestigious billionaire celebrity. All the world is a stage. Okay. 0.98 despair. Yeah, nothing that goes on with the Scientology children would cause them despair, would it? 0.96 TERROR. You know we're not allowed to say that word anymore because they hijacked it. 0.94 numb. Yeah, everything going on in Scientology wouldn't cause someone to be numb, would it? 0.9 sympathy. Oh, you guys, don't be sympathetic to anyone. Don't care about someone's feelings, especially children. 0.8 propitiation. You know, this is another one of these idiotic things allegedly he made up. Hold on. Okay, apparently it's a real word. I never heard of this before. Well, I need to expand my vocabulary. Propitiation. The act of gaining or regaining the favor. Oh, you guys know. Or goodwill of someone or something. The act of propitiating. You know, like making amends, you guys. Like making amends. Like all the children at the lower ranch had to do. Yeah. But the poor parents, And here we go. 0.5, grief. Remember how Reese talked about when her husband Fred died? Not allowed to show your emotions? They sure love to keep family members from people's funerals. The reason I'm laughing, you guys know I'm a little off sometimes. I can't say what I think about all that. Someone tried to keep me from my family member. They gonna learn about me. 0.375, making amends. Oh, isn't that interesting that I was just reading about propitiation, which is basically amends. 0.3, undeserving. 0.2, self-abasement. Hold on, guys. Okay, self-abasement. You guys, these last few that I'm reading, I personally can see the inversion right here. I hope you guys can kind of see what I'm talking about. Self-abasement. A humiliation of oneself. Isn't that like all of Scientology? I mean, not self-abasement. I think abasement is all of Scientology. The act of behaving in a way that makes one seem lower or less deserving of respect. Oh, that's what they assign to people, though. So that's a 0.2 on the scale. 0.1, victim. Someone was talking about the victim stuff the other day. Huh. Isn't that interesting? So if you get RAPED as a child, you were out 2D and you pulled it in. Can you believe that? And imagine all of these officials and police making Well, one, making money off of it and turning their heads. I don't think they're turning their heads. I think there's more going on. .07 hopeless. Yeah, nobody in freaking Scientology would feel like that, would they? Especially when you try to ruin them utterly. .05 apathy. By the way, if this channel ever gets taken down, I'm starting another one. And whatever you do, you're never going to stop me. I'm just going to tell you right now. I always got ways. Okay, did I say apathy? .05 apathy. .03 useless. Huh, kind of like LRH. .01 dying. Wasn't LRH dying for like 50 years? Taking pills, letting his teeth rot more, stankin', allegedly running from the authorities, allegedly. 0.0 when they drop the body death. Don't you guys wonder how many bodies are buried in these on their properties? I do. Especially baby skeletons. Okay, failure, .01, .1 pity. Imagine that you're not supposed to pity anyone. See, it either turns out psychopaths, which is what the people at the top are, if you didn't know. .2, shame. Well, they're always shaming people. Every time you turn around, they're shaming. .7, accountable. These are negative numbers. I forgot to say that. Negative .7. -1, blame. Yeah, like when you're blaming somebody or talking about how you got RAPED. I don't even want to go through this too much. Negative 1.5, controlling bodies. Negative 2.2, protecting bodies. Negative 3.0, owning bodies. Okay, I'm just going to pass all that gobbledygook. I don't know what this worshiping bodies is about. And once you know it, you guys, it must be an MF freaking coincidence. Negative 6.0 sacrifice. Huh. Isn't that what the entire organization is? It's all sacrifice. It's a form of sacrifice. Okay. That's it, you guys. I will leave a link in the description box. Like and subscribe if you choose. Otherwise, have an amazing day or night wherever you are. Peace.